Hello and welcome back to Retro Wrestling Reviews. I am at my next pay-per-view against D'Lo Brown in the opening round of the King of the Ring tournament, which is pretty exciting. I did speculate in the last video that this pay-per-view would either be like it might be something like this, and I guess my half-assed memory from when I was a kid paid off because that's exactly what it is. So I'm going to win the King of the Ring. Let's do it. We'll look at the tournament brackets there. So I thought I was against D'Lo Brown in the opener, but I guess not. D'Lo Brown's not even in the tournament. So what was that? That was weird. So I've got Kurgan in the opening round, and then I've got the winner of Jeff Jarrett and Shamrock. So it's a good mix of guys I fought before and guys I haven't. I just beat Jeff Jarrett in the final round of that gauntlet match, so it'd be quite fun to face Shamrock, I think. But we'll see what the game gives me. So it might be my memory failing me, but I feel like Kurgan was one of the very first people I fought when I started this journey with the European title rankings. It is kind of funny actually that I talked about create a character in the previous video and who I'm going to try and make in a couple of weeks time when I get to that session. But the thing that stops me wanting to create, like, Big Show is the obvious choice for someone who was in the WF in this era but isn't in this game. He's the obvious choice, and the thing that stops me making him is the size difference. Like I mentioned that all the models in this game are the same size, and this has beautifully illustrated my point because in real life Kurgan is an absolute giant of a human being. He's over 7 foot tall, I believe. He's definitely over 400 pounds. Like he's kind of Big Show sized, I would say, and yet here in this game, he's, if anything, he looks slightly shorter than Mankind. Oh man, he countered my pile driver. He's all about the counters. Kurgan. Kurgan wants to be king of the ring. Kurgan desperately wants to be the WF king of the ring. I'm getting my ass kicked. I need to back off a little here and get some separation, get some strategy going. Um, Maybe I just need to channel my normal strategy of just kind of waffling rubbish and giving wrestling trivia where it's not requested. So yeah, the logo for this King of the Ring, as you can see at the top of the ramp there, is the 1998 King of the Ring logo, which would have been the most recent event when this game came out. In my SmackDown series, my SmackDown series, I talked about the pay-per-view logos which are available in the game and how massively out of date they are. So it's like the 1999 WrestleMania and Royal Rumble logos. It's the 1998 SummerSlam logo. It's the it's the 1997 King of the Ring logo. So there's a weird mismatch of years, but all the ones in this game so far seem to be from like 1998, which is sense. It makes perfect sense because it would have been, by my calculations, this game would have been getting worked on in early '99 and then was released in July of 1999, just because I assume from the tribute to Owen Hart at the start of the game. Um, Crowd is chanting for me. I finally I got back into this match. I was nervous because Kurgan came out of the blocks really aggressively. Oh, I countered him. We were going counter for counter. Who had this down as a technical masterpiece? And now a wrist lock. Mankind and Kurgan, the technical masterpiece no one expected. Who knew? The wrestling machine Kurgan. He does kind of. I mean, that kind of beanie hat he's wearing does look a little bit like a wrestling headgear. Maybe? No, probably not. Probably not. I'm probably reaching a little bit with that one. My strategy in the previous couple of videos, and I guess this recording session in general, has been to just get them into red, knock them on their ass, and pin them, and not mess around. And that's been doing me well. So I'm going to stick with that strategy. I don't need to drag this out. Beautiful. I think that might be the first victory I've ever picked up where they were still in orange when the 3 count happened. That was good. A strong start for Kurgan, but I pulled it back at the end. All right, so it's Jeff Jarrett and Shamrock. I'm going to just sim the winner of that. Jeff Jarrett wins. Val Venus and Christian. Val Venus wins. Mark Merrow and Farouk. Farouk wins. So I've got Jeff Jarrett in the next round, and then I've got the winner of Val Venus and Farouk in the final. That's absolutely fine. I don't think any of the matches in this tournament have gone the way I wanted them to, other than the one I won, of course. I wanted to beat Kurgan, but I probably would have rather that Shamrock beat Jarrett, and I definitely would have preferred Christian beat Val. Um, Pretty indifferent to Mark Merrow versus Farouk, to be fair. That's absolutely fine. Um, but yeah, I definitely would have preferred Christian um, would have beat Val Venus. Took me a second there. The problem with me fighting the same people multiple times in one recording session is that I I run out of stuff to say about them. But I suppose that's probably better than it being spread out, because then I end up just repeating myself, and I dread to think how many times you guys have heard me repeat bits of trivia in this series. Hopefully you're not listening to me too closely, and it all just kind of washes over you. Um, but yeah, Jeff Jarrett, he was for a long time was the most decorated Intercontinental Champion in history. He was a five-time Intercontinental Champion. He was the first person to win it five times. He was actually the first person to win it four times and the first person to win it five times, and held that title until I think it was like 2003. Chris Jericho won the Intercontinental title for the sixth time to finally knock him off that perch. Um, so yeah, for a long time he was just a prolific Intercontinental Champion. Although because the bulk of them took place during the Attitude Era, they were all really short title reigns, like in the grand scheme of things. Um, I talk about it a bit on my website, retrowrestlingreviews.com. When you check out the late 1999 shows, the fact that Jarrett was Intercontinental Champion for like 3 months, that makes him like that's a lengthy reign. That's a Roman Reigns era reign, to have held it for 3 whole months during the Attitude Era when the titles were changing hands every other week on Raw. Was pretty good. I think that speaks to the fact that he was and maybe still is very good friends with the WWF's head writer Vince Russo, um, which I'd hate to say that it's about who you know, but it is. Wrestling's always been like that. Generally speaking, the people who are the most successful in wrestling history are the ones who had very good personal relationships with Vince McMahon. You know, there isn't a single person in WWF history who was a big success who wasn't incredibly good friends with Vince McMahon, except, ironically, the Ultimate Warrior, who he hated. Um, and then pretend, we all pretend that everyone didn't hate the Warrior now that he's dead, but they all hated him when he was alive, and he was successful in spite of that. So, but everyone else was friendly with Vince, and Jarrett was friendly with Vince Russo, which is why he was, as I said, a prolific Intercontinental Champion in his day. Okay, Val Venus versus Farouk in the semi-finals. Farouk, man, I didn't have that. So tag team specialist Farouk advances to the King of the Ring finals. All right, the finals of the King of the Ring in this alternate 1999, where Mankind, European champion, battles Farouk. It's weird that Farouk made it through, but that's fair enough. Like he's no slouch. But obviously in real life they probably wouldn't book like a tag team wrestler to get to the finals unless it was part of a bigger storyline where another tag team wrestler also got to the finals. Like Bradshaw and Farouk as partners both making themselves to the fight, both making it to the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. That feels very Attitude Era. That feels like the kind of thing they would do. I'm going to try and win this match with the mandible claw. I just beat my first two opponents as quickly as I could and didn't want to mess around too much. So with Farouk, I'm going to try. Given that it's the finals, just like in that gauntlet match against Jeff Jarrett, I owe it to the gravity of the situation to do it with some style. I love that pile driver. I love a good pile driver. You don't see them much in wrestling anymore for safety reasons, which is absolutely fair enough. I don't want anyone to hurt themselves, but um, I do miss a good pile driver. That was one of those moves that, like, in hindsight, it's ridiculous that me and my friends did that to each other. Like, we used to wrestle in the garden. Don't try this at home, kids, but we absolutely did regularly wrestle in the garden and would hurt each other all the time. And it is crazy in hindsight that I was like picking up people and tombstoning them on the grass, and like, Robbie Ramsey. who's and it's someone I've not thought about in about 20 years, maybe longer. In fact, yeah, I haven't thought about him in probably more like 25 years. But I used to pick him up and tombstone him in my garden, and his head would leave like a dent in the soft mud. Incredibly dangerous, incredibly dangerous. So yeah, I have to say I'm very much in favor of them banning the pile driver because I'm sure kids do still wrestle, but it's better if they're just doing clotheslines and slams where they land on their back and not picking each other up and dropping each other on their heads. Incredibly dangerous. That's my little PSA. But Farouk has hit not a lot of moves in this match, but the ones he hit have been all pretty spectacular. The brainbuster and then that military press. I don't know if you guys can hear. Hopefully the audio is loud enough that you guys can hear some of the commentary. But Shout Man just shouted that Farouk is omnipotent, which I don't think he knows what an omnipotent means. That's not what omnipotent means. I can't even say it. Another brainbuster. I need to stop chit chatting here. Maybe I don't want to just. Maybe I should worry less about the mandible claw and just worry about beating this guy because he's putting up a good fight here. Crowder booing me because I keep punching. I'll throw some kicks in. I do like the kind of grunts that they do when when you kick them in the gut. It's a very you just got kicked in the gut grunt. I do wonder if they were given a brief or if they just did generic grunts because it's much like Warzone. It is actually the wrestlers themselves doing their own grunts, which I do think is pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to try and do the mandible claw. King of the Rings finals demand a proper finishing move. Oh, clobber him. I just need to hit something. Okay, DDT. Okay, there we go. And I'll just quickly remind myself again because I'm terrible for this. Left, right, down, circle. Left, right, down, circle. Oh no, he countered. He woke up. He woke up. Oh, I'm gonna pay for my hubris. I flew too close to the sun. I'm sure there's a moral about that, isn't there? I've definitely pushed my luck here. I just tried to quickly fire off the mandible claw when he wasn't groggy. Maybe if I'm quick enough, maybe. There we go. I did it. I did it. You guys can't see, but I threw my arms in the air in victory there when I did that. This game needs Jim Ross on commentary so he can excitedly scream mandible claw, because I'm not going to do it. Boom. Mankind. King of the Ring. Mankind is having the greatest year in WWF history. I won the European title, I won the King of the Ring tournament, and now I'm going to make him Intercontinental Champion. Mark my words. King of the Ring. King Mankind. And I'll try and throw a little crown on his head here just to complete the look. King Mankind.